Hello everyone. In this recording, I'm going to be demonstrating navigating an inaccessible table versus navigating an accessible table with a screen reader. So without further ado, I have an example pulled up. Let's take a look.
Table vertical bar web table maximized.
All right, so let's start with that inaccessible table.
Table examples inaccessible table example heading level 2.
And so as I move through the tables in this video, I'm going to be using a combination of keys and keyboard shortcuts here. I'm going to be using the Control-Alt key, and then I'm going to be using the right and left arrow keys to move between the columns of the tables and the up and down arrow keys to move between the rows of the tables. Let's get started.
Table with 3 columns and 6 rows.
So here first we have the inaccessible table, and if I move into this,
Assistive technology, row 2 of 6.
it reads that we're in the second row, which is a bit confusing because I would expect that those table headers would be up in that at the top of the table. So it's a bit confusing when I'm trying to visualize the table. Let's continue on here.
Percent of users. Number of users, column 3 of 3.
So far it seems like these are reading okay, but when we actually get into the data,
Assistive JAWS, 1 in row span of 2, row 3 of 6.
JAWS, and then if I try to move between the numbers for JAWS,
45%, column 2 of 3. 550, column 3 of 3.
you can hear it reads the 45% and the 550, but it doesn't tell you what those numbers mean. You can hear it just reads
45%.
that number. It doesn't say that it's the percentage of users, or it doesn't say that it's the number of users. And so this is a bit of a problem because then it requires that the person looking at the table try to visualize it in their head and remember where each data point is. And that can be really hard to do, and that also gets really complex with large data tables that have a lot of different data points and columns and rows. So it's important that the headers of the table properly correspond to the actual data points in the table, so that way the screen reader can announce where you are in the table and what you're looking at. So let's continue on here.
JAWS, 1 in row span of 2, column 1 of 3.
It's reading that this JAWS cell is merged. So if we try to navigate down,
JAWS, row 4 of 6, high adoption.
we hear JAWS high adoption. So it's confusing to see JAWS twice in the table, and that high adoption wasn't noted as something that would be, I guess, presenting as a data point. So it kind of confuses me when I'm trying to visualize the data. So it's important that all your data points do have a header that's going to be announced within the table. And these merge cells can make it a bit confusing to read, so try to avoid those as well. And another issue that you'll see with the merge cell,
JAWS,
Let's
column
continue
1 of
reading.
3. NVDA,
NVDA.
row 5 of 6. 25%, column 2 of 3.
now it's reading that. But let's say I want to go back up to the JAWS data.
Top of column. Top of column.
I'm now blocked. I can't get back up the table, so I would actually have to go left
NVDA, JAWS, row.
and then jump up. So those merge cells can create a bit of confusion when trying to navigate the table. So just to summarize, what you've seen here in the inaccessible table is the screen reader was reading the table headers in row 2 instead of the top of the table, which was confusing for visualization. As you moved across the data points, the screen reader was not announcing what was the percent of users, what was the amount of users, and that was making it also confusing for the data visualization. And then you could see that merge cell created some issues with navigation and didn't allow me to move back up the table. Let's jump over to the accessible table here.
Table example 1 heading level 2. Table with 3 columns and 4 rows.
And let's read through this.
Assistive technology, row 1 of 4.
You can hear that that's announced in this top row. So now I know I'm at the start of the data.
Percent of users. Number of users, column 3 of
And if we move
Assistive
here,
tech JAWS, row 2 of 4. Percent of users, 45%. Number of users, 550.
It's telling
Column
you
303.
what each data point is, what the percent of users is, what the number of users is.
Assist NVDA, row 304. Percent of users, 25%. Number of users, 335. Column
So
303.
that's reading there. Here's what your percent of users is. Here's what your number of users is. And so that's really important for just navigating and understanding that data. And one more important thing that having the header cells correspond to the data allows you to do is pretend I only want to look at the percent of users and filter that data.
Percent of users, 25%.
If I move through
Column
this column
203.
specifically,
JAWS, 45%. NVDA, 25%. Zoom text, 30%. Row 4 of 4.
you can hear it reads specifically each screen reader and its corresponding percent. So having those header cells correspond to the data is extremely important with that. All right, that's a quick overview of navigating inaccessible and accessible tables with the screen reader. Hope it was able to help.